So I was disappointed with the movie Prometheus. I may end up doing a review on it, but I want to see how this movie does as compared to Prometheus. And
Holy. Hold on!
So Alien Covenant is the sequel to Prometheus, but the prequel to the Alien franchise. It's about this crew of the Covenant, which is hauling, I believe, thousands of people or whatever to another planet and end up getting a distress call from another planet and end up finding themselves in a whole mess of trouble. And so, like with every movie, it has its good and its bad. So let's start off with the good as always. So I really enjoyed the acting. The acting was done pretty well. I enjoyed every single main character to supporting character. Everybody did a good job. You believed in like just the drama, everything that was happening with them. You basically believed that it was happening, and it was actually pretty good acting throughout this whole film. As well as the cinematography is so good. Just the landscapes and how things look, even just the computer generated certain stuff, the green screen or whatever. A lot of the stuff looked pretty good. I enjoy when they walking around the planet and you can see off in the distance and how everything looked. Even just the tone. It's supposed to be a dark movie and just it looks dark, like it's just the sun is behind the clouds and stuff like that. But even with that type of look to it, the cinematography and everything else looks pretty damn good, and I enjoyed the visuals as well as the CG. Like a lot of it was actually pretty good. It was I enjoyed it. You could tell that they put money into this. I enjoyed seeing the CG, and it actually worked more for the film than against it. And one of the things I did like about it was the lore. It does go a little bit more into the lore of the engineers and their planet and stuff like that. It's actually oddly intriguing. Like I really wanted to get to know the engineers more and get into like them as a people and what they did and everything else. It really seemed very interesting, and I wish that they would have got more into it. Which brings me to the negatives of this movie. Now, everything that's revolving around this movie, I want to say more of it in the spoilers, but just the flip-flop in between Ridley Scott, what he wanted, his plans for just Prometheus and this franchise, this prequel franchise, and then what we got with this movie just totally contradicts itself. To me, I believe that the aliens stood out to me more because it seemed like they were out of place in this movie. It seemed like they were just really fan service for this movie. That this movie probably would have been way better had it not have the alien creatures in there. That if you would have built it more on finding the engineers and, finding out more about this civilization and everything that goes along with it, then it probably would have been a better film. But he just threw the aliens in there because that's a recognizable property, and those are recognizable like creatures that people know from the earlier Alien films that will probably give them more money, because Prometheus really didn't have none of that. And that didn't do well, but it just, I felt like it was just out of place. Like it was just fan service. Like there was no point of having aliens in this movie at all. And there is no character development. A lot of these characters up in here, the side characters, even kind of like the main characters, you don't really know too much about them really. They have a lot of backstory within little featurettes that came out before the movie came out, which guaranteed a lot of the movie-going audience, or just a lot of people, really didn't pay attention to them or actually watch them. So when you have to do that and you don't put a lot of character development within the movie, there is a problem. Okay, shit happens. Let's move on to the next thing. And like I said, like a lot of the CG was good, but some of it wasn't. I think that they should have gone practical with a lot of scenes of these aliens, because they used a lot of CG on the close-ups and certain scenes of aliens, and I felt like they could have gone practical, because it really did stand out when you're watching a certain scene, and it kind of worked against the movie than working for it. And this goes along with the fan service. This movie, I feel Ridley was trying to have a balance in between what Prometheus was and what he was initially going with it, and what the Alien movies were. Which it was a good horror film. I guess, it was scary, certain scenes and this and that. But at the same time, it seemed like he was trying to make it very intelligent. very intellectual, you know, something that you have to leave the theater and you're thinking about, which he does that really good. I mean, you're sitting there thinking about the movie and what could have been and what's happening, this and that. But he try and balance it out with like horror and these aliens, and it just doesn't match. It's like either you're going to be intelligent with it or you're just going to be a horror film just going for scares. It's like only certain times you can go with being both, but with this one, it was just at one point it's trying to be an intelligent film, and then it drops that to go to being a horror film, and then it just goes back and forth, and it's not an equal balance, and it just did not work at all. And like I said, the lore of the movie was more interesting than where he went with this movie. I really, like I said, you can take the aliens out of this movie. I want to learn more about the engineers. I want to know about the people. And that seemed more interesting than what he did with the film. I just didn't like it. I just didn't like that aspect of where he was trying to go. He should have stayed on the path and what he had before, because I think that probably would have been more interesting. I'm going to have to give this movie a 6. It was good. I enjoyed it, but it had a crazy amount of problems. It had some redeeming qualities, but a lot of that was just not good enough to help it get to being a great film. And so you're asking yourself, or just asking me, did it do its job as a horror film? In a sense, yeah. If you want to go into this and just throw your brain out the window and just enjoy it, you could. But there is a lot of sophistication in this movie that has you to need to think about everything that they're talking about. And like I said, it's not a good balance. So this is not one of those movies where you could just throw your brain away and just go have a good time. This is a movie where you actually have to think, or put you in a realm of thinking about what's happening, what happened, and what's going to happen. And it just wasn't a good balance. I feel like, yeah, it just kind of failed on being a straight horror film. It really did. So this concludes my Take One movie review of the movie Alien Covenant. And I will catch you guys later. Peace.